Hi everyone, thank you so much to Allison Keating, who are here at Be Well Clinic in Malahide, and today we wanted to talk around your birthing experiences. So it's kind of a very emotive topic, I find, and a lot of the women who are coming to me either prenatal or even who've had a baby, or they're maybe coming back on their second and subsequent babies, and maybe they didn't necessarily have the type of birth that they just kind of envisaged. It was very different.
Yeah.
And I don't want women, well, I feel like because, you know, you have to have the perfect pregnancy, you have to be the perfect mother, you have to have the perfect birth, you have to have the perfect breastfeeding, you have to have all the guilt, and it's just one of those extra things to feel guilty about.
Yay!
Yay! Because we're so hard on ourselves. So I just thought we could have a little chat about it, and maybe just talking around maybe, you know, your own birth experiences and my birth experiences, and about socially, how when women get together, I know I see it all the time, and you have, you know, different viewpoints,
Sure.
I suppose, and it kind of goes without saying, and I have to say it, but it probably goes without saying, it should be, is that obviously the positive best outcome is a healthy, safe baby and a healthy, safe mother. I'm also a believer in having a positive birthing experience, because I do see so many women afterwards who feel really robbed sometimes of the experience, and I know that they kind of feel like they shouldn't feel that way, because it doesn't matter, because baby's there, baby's healthy, and even if you went through a really bloody traumatic birth, it doesn't matter, you know. But to me, it's enormous, because it stays with women either for the next birth, and they're terrified potentially of the next birth if it didn't go according to plan, or it stays with them for many years after. Because I know you have had 3 beautiful little girls, but 3 very different labours, and 3 very different births. So I know you can resonate.
Sure. I mean, it's so funny, like, I know, today's chat, I thought, you know, as a psychologist, when I see women who've had experiences of birth, I'm seeing women who've had traumatic experiences.
Sure. And which is a small percentage, have to be said, but it's
That's
still there.
They're coming to me purely because it has been very traumatic. And sometimes I think that trauma undealt with actually stays for life.
Okay.
And often you can see it in say, much older mothers, like say in their 50s, their 60s, that when their children are having it, it brings it all back up for them. So, you know, it's a great idea to talk to somebody if you actually have had a very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
It's such a universal experience for a woman who is pregnant to give birth. But man, there are some different levels and different experiences for everybody. Yeah. I think the problem is because it is universal in terms of women having the baby at the end, hopefully, we get it stuck sometimes in either A, projecting our own negative experiences onto other women, which I see there's a lot of fear-mongering.
Oh, so much.
In movies, you know, it's the atypical, the woman screaming, shouting at the man, it's very...
You did this to me?
Yeah, and I think perhaps we do is an injustice, because the fear-mongering builds, I think, for women, say, who haven't had birth yet. Yeah. And then we have the mothers who have actually had the experience and it has been a bad experience, and they're going into it extra scared because they've had that experience before. So, like you're saying, I think the whole aspect of this goes on a mixture of uncertainty, if you haven't experienced it. Yeah. And in our modern world, we're very used as women to being much more in control. Yes,
and you're so vulnerable when you're...
And that's the exact word.
In the throes.
You are absolutely 100% vulnerable. You go into a very, I think, kind of evolutionary state.
Oh, for sure.
It's very, very, as I say, primordial. It's very instinctive. Yeah. And I think that vulnerability, and you're in such a heightened sense of...
It's so internal, though, the process. Like, you're real kind of cave on it, almost. Yeah. You go back to that, and it's interesting because even so, if you're talking about the woman who hasn't given birth first, there was I can't remember who it was. I was talking to, there was a man talking to us recently in a group, and I actually can't remember who it was, but he was talking about there were kids in the playground, girls in the playground, as in primary school girls, in our local school. And he was turning around and he was like, what are you doing? And they were screaming, like really loudly, like, ah, you know, screaming. And they were like, we're having a baby.
Oh my God.
And I heard that and I was in the audience going, oh my God. But you're talking about primary school children who are only learning about how the baby gets out of you, already ingrained that it's traumatic, that it's screaming, that it's horrendous. And I just thought that was profound.
Yeah.
And so bloody sad. But that's the thing, it's like in the media, if you just say having a baby, what words does that conjure up? Screaming, fear, shouting, lying on your back, excruciating pain, legs up in stirrups, you know, think Friends show or Phoebe and Rachel giving birth, it's just like, and yeah, sure, like some people do experience that, but that is the panic and the fear and the adrenaline running through your body. But people love hearing about that, I think, in a sick kind of way sometimes. But I think, you know, what my job is to try and instill in women is that it doesn't have to be like that.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't have to be this screaming, just pain, just dreadful experience. And I know even from my own births, but also from lots of other women in my classes and the workshops who, you know, and they said, oh my God, it actually was better than I thought it was going to be. Or I used my hypnobirthing or my gentle birthing or whatever, or your mantras or your positive birthing affirmations, and it was quite manageable. But it's funny then, because also, like, if I'm in a group of people, if I start of women, you know, friends, not friends, all just a group of women together, if you start talking or getting everyone talking about their experiences, you're also judged as someone who had a natural birth. Had a really positive, good birth, as, oh, sure, there you are, oh yeah, you're just the hippie. And
totally.
And it's actually
very
really
dismissive.
unfair, though. It's so dismissive as well, because I don't judge other women who have had a birth that really went not according to plan, or, you know, they used, like, I think people think that when you're talking about a birth, I think people think that I don't think you should have drugs, you know, and you shouldn't have an epidural. I don't care, you know what I mean? And that shouldn't be for anybody else to care.
See, I think the word there is should and shouldn't.
Yeah,
and it's
guilt
and I mean, like, as if it isn't already such a huge transpersonal experience.
Absolutely.
To have to add in cultural conditioning and that fear. So for me personally, I was always really into the idea of having this wonderful birth. Based on nothing, you know, absolute naivety, you know. But I just had this lovely, I don't know, it was just like this, it was a very instinctive sense of I want to have a good birth experience for me, for the baby, and so I went off and did a hypnobirthing course, and at 3 months pregnant. And then at 6 months pregnant, my doctor said, that baby's wedged in there and you're having a C-section. And I kind of laughed. Not to show you.
Oh, right there.
You know, and I was like, not a chance. And I literally did everything. I mean, lying upside down on the ironing board when pregnant is really quite difficult.
Really also insane.
Ridiculous. Well. I did have, my husband was there beside me as the beached whale was inverted on the iron. I did anything. Yes.
That's the thing.
And then I did all the hypnobirthing, and my poor husband had to listen to, you know, your baby will be born through your vagina, you know. And he was like, no, this is not good. You know, this is not good. I tried everything, and look, it was a section, and that's the way she wanted to come. And on the other side of it, honestly, my little girl knows what she wants. That's the way she wanted to be born. And for me, it was a massive learning lesson, because I went, that's very much part of the experience of birth, is that you don't often, as you say, she was healthy, thank God, and everything. But for me, it was a big deal, because this hope and dream I had didn't actually happen. So I thought, number 2, happy days, we'll do this, no problem. So I was all prepared, did lots of preparation beforehand.
Yeah.
And it was an emergency section. Much more traumatic because a planned section walking in or elective one is a very different experience. You're
it's still a planned birth and it's a lovely birth.
It's but they're all in the room, 11 people, boom,
it's not good.
There's basically no heart rate. It's a very different experience. It's terrifying. So I was pretty shook up by that, but also it was for the experience that happened, but also I thought I would hope to have another child, and I knew it was going to definitely be a section then. So for me that was the end of...
Because once you have 2 sections in Ireland, you have to have
And like you're saying, really well-intentioned people were saying, you have a healthy baby.
Of course. And you know that.
And I did know that.
Yeah.
But for me, there was like this kind of grief for the loss of the birth experience that I had hoped to have.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's why I think women, and for me at a professional level, I think we're not as supportive as we give ourselves credit for.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And the stories that I hear from women is that all they want to do is to be heard.
Yeah.
And I think when you say the solution is very simple. Just actually listen to the woman. So for the woman who had whether there was an emergency, whether the actual labour itself was very, very difficult, whether the experience with the staff was very, very difficult, whatever it actually was, I think every woman has a birth story.
Absolutely.
And what's really obvious is every woman wants to tell that birth story.
They really do. Yeah.
And I think if we actually listened without judgment, without actually putting our this is what happened to me,
just zip it.
Zip it and listen. I think we could heal so easily.
Yeah.
And when we think of the word midwife, it's being with woman. I think women need to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because, and also, there's so many different things in what you were saying. I mean, in one part, it's, I think, empowering the birthing partner as well.
Yes.
To feel like he or she can be listened to.
Yes.
Because there's a lot that happens in the throes. It's like, I'm just going to break your waters here. It's like,
well, that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
That's how for some ridiculous reason,
I
asked my husband to leave in maybe the 4th or the 5th or the 6th internal I'd had. I don't know why I asked him to leave. It was stupid. And when he left, basically said, hand me the unholy hook. I had said I didn't want that to happen. Boom, it was done. And straight away afterwards.
That's a huge part of it, and that for me is
my voice was
really annoying and frustrating, and that makes me really angry because I do see a lot of that. And I know with women who are kind of like, oh no, they're the experts, and they'll do what's best for me. And like sometimes I know they're medically the experts, but also in Ireland anyway, where the midwives and the maternity hospitals are not having a good time right now. They are so under-resourced. The midwives themselves are under ferocious pressure. A lot of them are suffering as well.
And that burnout, you mean?
Total burnout, because they are not able to be with women. Because midwives are trained to be with women, to do their best. And this, I think when you take the view of, well, they're the experts, so they're going to do what's best for me. Yes, but also they are under so much pressure and resource now. They don't have enough resource that it actually is really important to do your research beforehand, and at least then enable your birthing partner to stand up for you as well when you have no voice at the time, because you mightn't feel like you're listened to, and
or because you can't speak.
Or because you can't speak. You're like, I'm just trying my best. But also, that's what makes me really angry, because it's actually a lot of those kind of situations can actually be preventable. And you don't want to hear that after you've had a really bad experience. But, if, for example, they didn't break your water, would a baby have gone into distress?
Well, I actually asked my doctor afterwards, because she wasn't actually into there last night, and I said, look, I feel that this contributed to that. And she says, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
In fairness, I was really glad that she was honest.
Yes.
Actually, it actually really helped. I kind of went, thank you for being honest.
Yeah.
Because if they said, no, I think I would have been really annoyed.
Because, I mean, it's proven that, you know, it's like, so I have so many people coming back and, I had to have an emergency section. And I'm like, you know, I'm sorry that it didn't go how you thought it was going to be. It is wonderful, obviously, that you were healthy. Yeah. And in those situations, you know, you're not always in control, and the way of saving your life and saving your baby's life is to have your emergency section. So it's there for a reason.
Totally.
For sure. Yeah. But you take a few steps back, and if you had, you know, allowed the woman much more time or whatever, or you had, you know, just maybe allowed her less examinations, or didn't interfere with her, or didn't break her waters, or didn't, you know, put Pitocin or oxytocin, Syntocin, everything into her will just speed things up a little bit. You know, when you interfere like that, the baby is automatically, in a lot of cases, going to have a reaction. Yeah. They don't like when that happens, and they will go into distress.
Of course they will.
I would recommend also trying to empower your birthing partner as well. Yeah. In just when you're faced with those situations of, I'm just going to break your water now. It's like, ooh, really? Or, you know, is that what will happen? Or is there anything else that I can do? Like, what are the benefits of doing that? What if we do nothing? Can you just give her another half an hour or something? It's the pause button. Pressing the pause button, because a lot of the time, like, Ireland is a very litigious country, and we have a quick tendency to sue, for sure, and, you know, I think medics are very well aware of that as well, and you obviously don't want anything to go wrong. For them, yeah, and all they want to do is get that baby out and have a safe delivery, of course, but it's also to try and nourish the birthing experience as well. So, and I know a lot of people, they say birth plans or birth, you know, any form of birth plan is quite controversial for a lot of people. It's like, you know, poo-pooed a bit, but I'm actually a really big believer in just a few real simple things that are really important to you, where it's a preference. It's just a preference of, I would prefer not to have my waters broken unless there is a medical necessity, or just a few things to consider with yourself and your birthing partner before you go into labour, to talk to your midwives or your doctor around it, and just to plant those little seeds. Yeah. And because I definitely, in my first birth, I really didn't want to have an episiotomy, and I was having, ended up using quite a big fella, and I specifically said, listen, if it's medically necessary, then obviously, but I really, really want to try and avoid it. And they really respected my wishes, and they brought in, at the very, delivery point, when I was crowning, literally, and they brought in the head midwife, and she said, okay, and she just helped, real gentle delivery, and you know, they didn't give me an episiotomy. So I think it's really important to just voice those concerns as well through this, you know, birthing plan, birthing preferences, but to have that loose,
But it's so interesting what you're saying there, because maybe that's why women need to be heard after, because if they felt they weren't heard on the day. Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's where it's actually coming from.
Yeah. Because you really do need to be heard in the day, and you don't often, when you're in the throes of labour, you often you don't even have that capacity to get your point across articulately. You're just trying to breathe. Yeah, exactly.
You know, for me as a psychologist, what I was always most interested in, and as a mother in a different way, but I was interested in both. Yeah. I really was interested in the neurochemical level, in terms of, you know, the emotionality of actually having a baby, the physicality of it, and then the impact that your thoughts in terms of actually releasing those chemicals straight from your brain right down into where you actually need to be relaxed. I mean, think about where fear actually goes to. What does adrenaline actually do? It tenses us up. If we tense, where do we tense? Think about it. You know, and
this is it.
And people are all like, it's in the jaw, it's in your pelvis, and I feel, as I say, it's taking the step back, and that's where I always looked at it from here. Well, where did those children get that idea? In the playground. And that conditioning is an expectation, and the expectation of fear and pain, and those two together create a physiological impact that is going to have an impact. Whereas if we look to different, and I was always fascinated by, say, African society.
Yeah.
So they're within, all the women are actually having a baby together, they're upright, they're standing.
Yeah.
And the process isn't expected.
Yeah.
So like Frederick Leboyer, it's all about that sense of, labour without fear. And I think it's hard to have that in Western culture.
It is, because it's hard to not be fearful when you're in labour. It's a very intense.
Yes, but you know what I think isn't talked about enough? The sense of being a warrior in that. Like, for all the fear, it's like sometimes when people talk about parenting.
Yeah.
We hear so much about the bad aspects of it, which of course there are.
Yeah.
You're exhausted,
Yeah, it's bloody hard work.
Tick, sleep deprived, tick.
Yeah.
But then there's the
amazing moments.
The amazing moments that really do flatten the other stuff.
Of course.
It's the love. And what is love? It's oxytocin. So in terms of that love hormone, what do people have at the very end of labour?
Yeah.
A huge gush of oxytocin, but that's knocked out when you're in fearful state.
Absolutely.
So when you do that preparation, and take some ownership of, this is my body, this is happening to me, and I'm going to go with the flow. I'm within a medicalised situation, and of course there's so many amazing benefits to that.
Of course.
But it's to play your part within it, isn't it?
It is, but I think a huge amount of it comes back to that premeditated birth is going to be bloody painful.
Yes.
I am going to scream, I'm going to need the drugs, and that is that. And, all I'm trying to get the message through to him, I'm not trying to sit in my box and go, now you don't have to have a medicated birth. That's not what it's about. But it's about trying to just educate women that the birthing process, when you have adrenaline in your body, you can't have oxytocin. You need oxytocin to dilate you. You will not dilate if you have adrenaline, a gush of adrenaline through the body. It just, the hormonal interplay, it cannot work.
Well, one blocks the other.
One blocks the other. So therefore, if you are incredibly fearful, which is what you've been ingrained that it's going to be like, you can't dilate. So this horrible term, failure to progress, is so crap. I hate it.
Just to make sure we don't feel like failures.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you have failure to progress, so you were shit at giving birth. It's just like, oh my god, could that have gone any worse?
Yeah.
But it's all, so it's trying to inform, I suppose, women when they're still pregnant.
Yes.
Or hopefully 15 years previously,
that
it doesn't actually have to be this horrendous, screaming, fearful, because if you have a huge amount of fear, that's what I'm always banging on in my classes around. I have this little acronym of RUM, so relaxed, upright and mobile. If you can stay relaxed, keep the adrenaline at bay, oxytocin will flourish, upright, getting your position, your physical pelvis and your body into a good position, and staying mobile, you are going to give yourself the best chances. And if your baby doesn't want to get into a good position, then very often there is an anatomical reason for that. Whether it's your pelvis, you've an issue with it, you've a slightly strange-shaped uterus, or you've ligament damage from years ago, or maybe you had a car crash when you were 10 or something. All of those little things can have a huge impact. For those instances, then absolutely, thank God we have the option of having cesarean sections in this world. We were talking just earlier about Gaskin, this amazing midwife, but she has a place called The Farm. And for those of you who have never heard of Gaskin, you should I really recommend her. She's a number of books, but the Gaskin's Guide to Childbirth is just full of amazing stories. But I
like spiritual midwifery.
Spiritual midwifery, it is amazing. It's slightly left of centre, I suppose, for the average pregnant woman. But I definitely think, so her cesarean section rate, I think, is 4 to 5%. The World Health Organization, I think it's around 11 to 15% or something like that is their recommendation. In most Western society now, it's up beyond 30%. So are women made differently who go to the farm?
No, I think not. I think in some levels, like say even with breech presentation, is that perhaps what's happening now is that the medical profession aren't actually seeing them being delivered. So
so the art is gone though as well. Because people don't. There are plenty of in other countries where people will deliver a breech presentation. Yes, it is slightly higher risk for sure. But it's out now actually that the skill from a midwife perspective isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
So for anybody with breech presentation, then you have to have, in Ireland anyway, you do have to have a cesarean. But that's not going to be the difference between the 4% and the 30%. No. One of my gorgeous ladies who had a baby there a few months ago, and God love her, she had a really challenging time. She did everything. She did all the yoga with me, she did all her relaxations, she did all her, I don't know if she did specifically hypnobirthing, but I think she did it as well. And, she went into shock, I think, in the middle of her labour, and she was pumped out, general anaesthetic for it, so she didn't see her baby being born at all. And, she had such a challenging time, and afterwards when she was talking to me about it, and I was saying to her, but I think you will be able to tell your little girl, talking about the warrior word, what a warrior you were, for what a challenging birth you had, but how strong you are, and how you came out of it. And so I survived. Like, being in hospital, they saved her life.
Yes.
They saved her baby's
Absolutely.
life. And so those instances, I think if you just try to take the vision and change it slightly, and try and reframe it, exactly. Couldn't have the language now, but reframing it into, I survived this such challenging birth, and trying not to feel guilty.
Guilt is when you feel you've done something
wrong.
You haven't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
And I
think that's really important to talk with women. It's like, if you had the birth experience that you had and it didn't go right, it's not your fault.
Just because
you didn't do anything wrong.
No. No, you didn't. And this is not to make people feel guilty, or there's, it would be wonderful if it was an amazing experience for everybody, but it isn't. It isn't. And I suppose what we need to do is to allow women to heal afterwards. Allow women to actually tell their story. And I think it's a good idea to write your story out for yourself.
Okay.
Get a pen and paper, and there can be a couple of versions of this. It can be very quick after the actual experience, because I think at a very kind of cellular level we hold on to these feelings, so it's very important to get it right. But it's important for you to actually know what it is that you are actually upset about, is it a disappointment, so that your expectation was very, very different to the actual reality. I think regardless of what actually happened, acknowledge and name the experience that you had. Because I think we all come in with, as I said, well-intentioned people, and that's what I would see within clients, is that people are like, well, you had the healthy baby. That is our classic case of the difference between sympathy and empathy.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's like someone having a miscarriage. Well, at least you can get pregnant. You're having this horrible experience. Well, at least the baby's healthy. No, just for a moment have some compassion. And I think if we come in with a really good heart and just hear what someone's actually saying, that's how you actually help. You don't have to have the right words.
Okay.
You're not a therapist.
No, you're not.
Just listen.
Just listen.
Just listen. And there's nothing more simple than that. Then for yourself, it's figuring out how to process and to finish the story.
Okay.
Because I think for a lot of women, what happens is you didn't get the ending that you wanted.
Yes.
So you then have to actually finish the story for yourself. And perhaps even say, well, what I had hoped to have happened was... And then I think when you do actually acknowledge that, then the reality can come in that actually, do you know what? When her heart went into bradycardia, it needed to have an emergency section.
Absolutely.
It was actually important. But I don't think you can get to that until you actually acknowledge that maybe the person's sad about it, or that's not what they had hoped for. We're talking about hopes and dreams here.
Yeah, we are.
So it's just real support. And if we look at postnatal, I mean, a huge amount of the research just goes back to people not feeling supported. And I think support is emotional, it's physical and psychological. It's the three together.
Okay, so in terms of then things that we could do who didn't have the birth that we maybe necessarily hoped for. So write out your story, allow yourself to talk, allow yourself to be listened to, or try and explain to even your other half or one of your best friends or whatever. I just want you to listen, because I really just want to just spurt it all out there.
If you feel that you're not getting that support from home or from families, go and talk to somebody.
Okay,
Honestly.
Yeah.
And you know, it's interesting when you were talking about the miscarriage and people coming back to you. To
Yes.
me, it screamed that people just want to be heard.
They really do.
Yeah.
Like, I was shocked around that, and that's a really good point. People just want to be heard and tell their story. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
and if anyone wants further information from Alison's work, it's Be Well Clinic, and it's bewell.ie.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.